What if the very tool you used to prepare a loving meal is silently cutting through your family's peace? Most people don't realize it, but leaving a knife or pair of scissors in the wrong place isn't just messy, it's energetically destructive. It creates invisible tension. It slices through the emotional warmth of your home. And yet it's so common. Maybe you just finished cooking and placed the knife on the counter. You meant to clean it later but got distracted. Or you left scissors near the doorway after opening a package. Convenient, yes, but energetically a mistake. Then over time, without noticing, you begin to feel it. The tension in conversations, the money that comes in but never stays, the growing silence at the dinner table. Have you ever walked into your own home and felt unsettled without knowing why? That feeling isn't random, it's energetic feedback from your space. In this video, I'll guide you through 6 places where sharp objects may be quietly working against you. You won't need superstition, just attention. Because once you understand the role these placements play, you'll see your home and your energy with new eyes. And from that awareness, you can shift everything. Stay with me. What you're about to discover might just explain more than you realize. Section 1. The everyday spots where sharp objects block your fortune. 1. Dining table, where nourishment gets sliced. Most people think of a knife left on the dining table as a minor oversight, a small habit of convenience after a meal. But in Feng Shui, this single gesture holds far more weight than we've been taught to see. What if that casual placement, a blade beside your plate, a pair of scissors resting near a fruit bowl, wasn't just careless but symbolic? What if it was quietly unraveling the very harmony you thought you were building at the table? Because in the world of energy, sharp objects don't wait for intention, they act with presence. And presence matters. Picture this, a busy evening. You're rushing through dinner prep, placing utensils and dishes in a rhythm you barely notice anymore. The family gathers briefly, some tired, others distracted. A half-used knife is left on the table, maybe beside the salt, maybe tucked against a napkin. No one says anything, but slowly meals become quieter, eye contact less frequent. Irritations rise for no clear reason. You begin to feel something missing, not in the food, but in the feeling of togetherness itself. In Feng Shui, the dining table is more than furniture. It is a living altar of nourishment where earth and fire energies converge. It is where wood energy, growth, kindness is offered through food, where metal discipline, structure, is set aside to make room for connection and flow. This table is the core of family chi. It's the gathering field for abundance, not only in nutrition but in trust, care, and emotional replenishment. A well-used dining space can magnetize prosperity because it generates a steady pulse of unity, a rhythm that affirms. We're safe, we're together, we're supported. Now imagine what happens when a blade enters this field. A knife is not just steel. It's a symbol of severance. It represents the act of cutting, separating, dividing. Energetically, it introduces an invisible tension into a space meant for wholeness. In the 5-element theory, metal can destroy wood. And when sharp metal rests where wood-based energy should thrive, the emotional resonance begins to change. That's why homes with knives or scissors left on the table often report unexpected emotional coldness. Small disagreements become habitual, children withdraw, partners stop sharing stories. The warm current is gone. Not because love disappeared, but because its rhythm was disrupted. On an energetic level, the dining table is like a receiving dish. It absorbs what we place there, not just food, but emotional tone. When you leave a sharp object after a meal, you're leaving behind energetic residue. It lingers. And the next time you sit, your body registers it before your mind does. This leads to unease in digestion, not just of food, but of life itself. You'll notice impulsive spending after meals, a sudden drop in mood, or a mysterious loss of appetite, not for food, but for joy. Over time, this can spiral into deeper misalignments, inability to save money, fractured conversations, and a subtle feeling of isolation, even when everyone's seated together. So how do we shift this? You don't need to change the entire room, you need to change the energy relationship. Begin with a small ritual. The moment a meal ends, remove every sharp object from the table, not in haste but with presence. Wipe the surface with intention. Choose a soft cloth, a circular motion, a sense of respect. You're not just cleaning, you're restoring a sacred field. Consider placing a bowl of warm water with citrus peels nearby or a small wooden tray with natural textures. Both invite earth energy, grounding and stabilizing the flow. If your table is often used for tasks like crafts or bills, have a designated box for tools, one with a lid so that blades don't remain visible. Visibility in Feng Shui is exposure, and exposure keeps energy active. You might also introduce a unifying centerpiece, not just decoration, but a symbolic heart of the table, something round, organic, maybe even handmade. This becomes a visual and energetic anchor, constantly reminding the space. This is a place of connection. Let that object absorb the center line, not a knife, not a phone, not a receipt, a symbol of life. And here's a deeper practice. Sit at your table one evening when the house is quiet. No food, no one else. Just sit, notice how it feels. Is the air still? Do you feel welcome in that space? If the answer is no, then something has been cut, and now you know where to begin. What if the real hunger we carry isn't for food, but for the feeling of being fed with presence, warmth, and peace? And what if the knife you forgot to move is what's been carving that feeling away all along? 2. Front entrance, cutting off opportunities before they enter. You might think the sharpest cuts come from conflict or crisis, but in Feng Shui, some of the deepest wounds to your fortune begin at the front door, with a blade you didn't even notice. A pair of scissors tossed on a nearby console, a small knife left in a delivery bag, a box cutter perched beside the key tray. They seem harmless, they feel convenient. But symbolically, they're not just tools. They're energetic gatekeepers blocking the very flow of prosperity meant to reach you. This is not superstition. It's the architecture of energy at play. And your entrance is its first and most important stage. The front entrance is not just where guests arrive or packages get dropped off. In Feng Shui, it is referred to as the mouth of Kai, the primary gateway through which vital life force, opportunity, wealth, and protection enter your space. It functions like the lungs of a home, breathing in the fresh air of destiny. Everything, relationships, career luck, clarity of mind, starts at this threshold. A clean, open, and energetically welcoming entrance invites expansion. A cluttered or hostile one repels growth. And sharp objects, they don't just block, they repel. Think of it in elemental terms. The front entrance ideally channels wood energy, growth, movement carried by wind, the vehicle of qi. But when sharp-edged metal items like scissors or knives dominate the area, they create a cutting vibration that clashes directly with that nurturing flow. Instead of allowing energy to stream in smoothly, the metal's slicing energy breaks the continuity, like a gust of wind hitting a row of spikes. The result is subtle yet profound. Opportunities stall before they begin, interactions turn cold, and the household begins to experience a low-grade resistance to progress. You may be working hard, applying effort, seeking clients or peace, but nothing seems to gain traction. You start each day from zero, no matter how much you've built. Let's take it further into lived experience. Have you ever had seasons where everything felt almost? The job almost came through, the client almost signed, the solution almost worked, but nothing fully landed. Or a time when no one in the house seemed quite happy to walk through the door. Energy doesn't just come from emotions, it feeds them. If your entrance gives off a frequency of aggression or severance, people entering it, including you, begin to unconsciously brace themselves. The shoulders tighten, the breath shortens. Over time, the home no longer feels like a sanctuary, but a zone of passive tension. The mental impact grows slowly. Forgetfulness near the door, friction with family members as they arrive or depart, subtle financial leakage. You might see patterns like needing frequent repairs, frequent replacements, or always feeling like you're catching up with bills rather than flowing ahead. This is because the incoming energy is unstable, and what's unstable cannot support. Even your relationships will reflect it. Disagreements sparked in the entryway are never really about shoes or timing. They are the echo of a front space that no longer greets gently. So what's the shift? It starts, as always, with awareness. Walk to your front door and look around, not as a homeowner, but as energy would. What's the first thing a flow of abundance would see upon entering? A blade, a corner, a pile of unopened mail. Now ask, is this an invitation or a warning? To reset this space, begin by removing all visible sharp objects from the entrance area. Not just the obvious ones. Check drawers, bags, and utility bins nearby. Even hidden blades hold vibration. Replace them with objects that welcome. A soft-toned welcome mat, a small leafy plant like peace, lily, or jade, or a ceramic bowl to collect keys and slow the motion of energy. If possible, introduce sound or scent, a gentle wind chime or a citrus diffuser. Both elements encourage qi to enter fluidly and joyfully. Consider placing a mirror only on the side, never directly opposite the door, to amplify brightness without bouncing energy away. Mirrors should reflect openness, not overwhelm. And above all, ensure your door can fully open without obstruction. A door that's stuck or blocked is a message to the universe. We're not ready to receive. Even your lighting matters. A soft, warm bulb overhead can transform a shadowed corner into a beacon. In Feng Shui, light is yang. It uplifts, enlivens, and draws energy in like a magnet. Think of the front entrance like the face of your home. Would you greet the world with a knife in your smile? And remember, blades carry not only physical sharpness but energetic memory. That cutter you left out may have been used in a moment of rush, stress, or frustration. It holds the vibration of that moment. The front door should not carry history, it should welcome possibility. So the next time you walk through your own front door, don't just glance, feel. Does the space rise to meet you? Or do you feel a small resistance, a tightening, an edge you can't quite explain? Feng Shui doesn't just decorate, it reveals what your space has been trying to tell you all along. What if the reason luck never knocks is because the door has been guarded by a blade? And what if today is the day you lay it down and invite your next chapter to walk in? 3. Under beds and furniture, silent energy stagnation. You might believe that if something is out of sight, it's out of impact. But in Feng Shui, the most overlooked spaces often carry the heaviest burdens. What if that forgotten pair of scissors under the bed isn't just clutter, but a blade pressed against your nervous system every single night? The truth is, what lies beneath your furniture isn't passive. It breathes, it stores, and it influences the very field you live in. And when that hidden space holds sharp objects, you're not just sleeping above steel, you're resting on a slow current of disturbance. Think of how this happens. One day you're cleaning in a rush. Something falls, a penknife, a tool, or a pair of shears, and rolls beneath the couch. You tell yourself you'll retrieve it later. Days pass, then weeks. It becomes part of the unseen. And yet over time, sleep becomes harder. Thoughts become heavier. You wake up not refreshed, but foggy, uncentered. Small irritations grow. Conversations feel shorter. And you wonder why your home, once a place of comfort, now feels subtly off balance. In Feng Shui, hidden spaces are yin-dominant by nature. They are still, dark, and slow-moving, qualities that can be grounding when clean, but become problematic when neglected. Underbed spaces are particularly sensitive because they lie directly beneath your energy restoration zone. Your bed is where your qi recharges, where the body resets and the mind releases its daily residue. It's the most intimate energy zone in the home. If sharp, cutting objects are stored underneath, you are essentially sleeping above a field of compressed metal energy, which, according to the 5-element cycle, can disrupt water, emotions, dreams, and wood, growth, healing. In simple terms, blades under your bed slice into your personal recovery field. The impact may not be dramatic, but it's consistent. Restlessness, shallow sleep, emotional burnout, a feeling that nothing is deeply nourishing. Over time, this energetic erosion shows up as decision fatigue, strained relationships, or even physical symptoms. Stiff joints, disrupted circulation, poor digestion. And beyond the bed, similar dynamics unfold under sofas, desks, and chairs. The living room loses its spark. The office becomes mentally draining. Children become agitated or unmotivated in their study corners. Because what's below always affects what happens above. Many people assume that energy only moves where we walk, sit, or place intention. But stagnant zones, those we never clean or acknowledge, become storage tanks of old frequency. And if those frequencies come from objects designed to cut, sever, or pierce, the surrounding field absorbs that vibration. It turns from soft to sharp, from flowing to fractured, from nurturing to defensive. And slowly your space becomes a home in form but not in feeling. So how do we restore it? Start with stillness. Choose one room, sit on the floor near your bed or main couch. Close your eyes and feel downward. Ask, what's beneath me? What have I allowed to accumulate below my line of awareness? Then begin the physical act. Pull out every box, object, and forgotten item from under the bed or couch. You might find old cables, wrappers, tools, or rusted things you no longer use. If you discover sharp items, especially knives, scissors, or broken metal, do not return them under any circumstance. These do not belong in yin spaces. Remove them with presence. Clean them or discard them entirely. Once the area is physically clear, energetically cleanse it. Use a gentle element. Sandalwood smoke, salt water in a bowl, or even a few dried sage or bodhi leaves to reset the field. Let air flow underneath. If possible, leave the space open for a few days. Allow light and breath to reintroduce yang's softness to that yin pocket. If you must store something beneath the bed, choose soft, fabric-lined containers, filled only with items that represent rest, clean linens, spiritual books, or folded seasonal clothing. Avoid electronics, tools, or anything that vibrates with action or fragmentation. You may feel the change instantly: deeper sleep, calmer breath, a sense of being held by your own space. The energy will begin to rise gently. And you'll notice how the tone of the room shifts, not because you changed the wall color, but because you finally honored what lay below the surface. This is more than cleaning. This is a symbolic reclamation. A decision to stop sleeping over disruption. A choice to remove hidden tension from your most sacred space. And if you live with others, make it a ritual. Invite your partner, your children. Let them feel the difference in their own corners. Teach them not just to organize, but to respect the quiet influence of what they can't see. Because the real question is this: what are you unknowingly sleeping over? A layer of peace, or a quiet pressure that's been shaping your days from the underside of your nights? Sometimes, the deepest transformation begins not from what we change above, but from what we choose to remove from below. For near altars or sacred corners, a disruption of the divine. You may believe your altar is safe simply because it looks respectful. You keep the candles upright, the incense fresh, the space seemingly clean. But if there's a knife in the drawer below, or a pair of scissors beside the incense bowl, or a box cutter tucked nearby for convenience, then you've unknowingly introduced conflict into the most peaceful corner of your home. Because in Feng Shui, sharp objects near sacred energy don't just disturb the space, they sever your connection to it. This isn't about religious ritual, it's about energetic integrity. The altar, whether you see it as a connection to ancestors, higher consciousness, or simply your own center, is a vibrational anchor. It holds stillness, invites reverence, and gathers your highest intentions into form. And like any field of high resonance, it's sensitive. It absorbs more than smoke and flowers. It absorbs what surrounds it. And the moment a blade enters that space, the atmosphere shifts. This happens more often than you think. Maybe you keep scissors near the altar cabinet to trim incense sticks. Maybe a sharp cleaning tool sits beside your oil lamp. Maybe you store utility items nearby out of habit because they're not on the altar itself. But energy does not stop at surfaces. It flows through proximity, symbolism, and emotional charge. And a blade, by design, holds the essence of cutting, separation, aggression. These are the very qualities we try to dissolve in sacred practice. When we introduce sharpness to a space meant for stillness, the contradiction doesn't cancel out. It amplifies into distortion. From the perspective of elemental Feng Shui, altars are expressions of wood and fire energy. Wood symbolizes growth, lineage, and purpose. Fire represents spiritual clarity, devotion, and transformation. Together, they create an upward flow of resonance, a kind of gentle flame that stabilizes the home's energy. But metal, especially in the form of exposed knives and scissors, cuts through wood and overpowers fire. Instead of nurturing spirit, it constrains it. Instead of building connection, it introduces resistance. The altar, meant to receive your prayers, begins to echo them faintly. You may speak, but feel unheard. You may light incense, but feel no peace. And this disharmony doesn't stay confined to the altar. It travels. Because the sacred space is not just a corner, it's a source code for the whole household's vibration. When it's energetically fractured, you'll see the effects bloom in other areas. More arguments without clear cause, subtle guilt or heaviness in the heart, lack of motivation, spiritual numbness. People often report that something feels off, but they can't name it. They clean, they organize, they even pray more, but the quiet presence they once felt is gone. Why? Because you cannot call in blessings while holding a blade in the same breath. The field collapses on itself. So how do we restore the integrity of this space? First, shift the way you view your altar. It's not just a shelf. It's a sacred field, and sacred fields require protection, not just display. Begin by scanning the entire area, above, around, and below. Remove anything that cuts, pierces, or scratches the energy. This includes not only obvious blades, but also overly pointed decor, broken objects, or rusted metal. Even a decorative sword or antique tool, if placed too close, can dull the spiritual field. Next, create symbolic softness. Replace sharp utility items with rounded, grounding alternatives, a small bowl of water, a smooth river stone, a fresh flower in a simple vase. These items don't just look peaceful, they radiate it. They signal to the space. This is a zone of gentleness, a zone of remembering. You might also place a natural fabric cloth beneath the altar to absorb disruptive frequencies from the floor, especially if there are drawers or storage units built into the cabinet. If you absolutely must keep tools nearby, such as for incense trimming, store them far from the altar field in a wooden box with a lid at least several feet away. In Feng Shui, containment is protection, and distance is respect. Once physically cleared, reset the energetic tone. Light a stick of pure sandalwood or agarwood incense, not for fragrance but for field repair. Let the smoke fill the corners, not rushed, not for show, but as an offering. Recalibrate the air. You're not just cleansing, you're reclaiming presence. And perhaps most importantly, revisit your altar with intention. Sit with it, not to ask, not to thank, just to be. Sense whether the stillness has returned. Whether the space feels alive again, not with drama, but with quiet depth. You'll know it will no longer feel like furniture. It will feel like a companion. Because in the end, this is about more than sharp tools. It's about what they symbolize. Haste, utility, neglect, and sacred spaces are not sustained by what's efficient. They are sustained by what is honored. So ask yourself this: when was the last time your altar felt like a sanctuary, not because you decorated it, but because you defended its stillness? In a world that constantly slices our attention, your sacred space can be the only place that holds it whole. But only if you protect it, only if you remove the blade before you reach for the light. 5. Work desks, cutting your focus without realizing. We often associate productivity with tools, pens, laptops, notepads, even scissors or utility knives. But what if the very object you placed on your desk to get things done was actually the reason your thoughts feel fragmented, your ideas stall halfway, and your success stays just out of reach? What if one visible sharp object is not aiding your focus, but subtly slicing through your mental flow day after day? In Feng Shui, the tools on your desk don't just support your work, they actively shape the quality of your thought field. And when those tools carry cutting energy, they quietly dismantle the very clarity you're trying to build. Here's the scene: you sit down at your desk, coffee in hand, plans in mind. You glance at your to-do list, open your calendar. Somewhere on the edge of your desk lies a pair of scissors, maybe from yesterday's packaging, or a utility blade from your last DIY project. You don't even register it anymore. It's just there. But as you settle into focus, your thoughts keep drifting. You reread the same sentence 3 times. You forget what task you started with. You feel strangely agitated, like you're pushing through invisible resistance. You chalk it up to fatigue or distraction. But what you're actually experiencing is field interference. In Feng Shui, your work desk is more than a surface. It's a launch pad of willpower. It's where the energy of metal, clarity, discipline, thought, must harmonize with wood, creativity, forward movement to produce true productivity. But when uncontained, sharp objects sit openly on the desk, they introduce an excess of unstable metal chi, a kind that doesn't organize but splits. Instead of sharpening your ideas, it fragments your mental field. It keeps your mind in defense mode, subtly bracing, alert, and unable to enter deep focus. The eyes scan constantly, even when we think we're not paying attention. And in neuroscience, sharp shapes and pointed objects trigger micro-alert responses in the brain, a leftover evolutionary reflex tied to danger. That's why even one blade in your peripheral vision can create tension in your body before you're aware of it. Over time, this tension builds into mental fatigue. You lose your train of thought more often. You feel drained by simple tasks. Your confidence in your own flow begins to erode. Professionally, the effects can be just as tangible. Clients sense emotional sharpness, even through emails. Colleagues feel your mental distance. Collaboration suffers. You may have strong ideas but feel unseen or undervalued, not because you're lacking in skill, but because your energetic field doesn't invite connection. You're mentally armored, and others can feel it. It's a classic example of form influencing function. The design of your space is dictating the pattern of your work. So how do we restore energetic coherence? Start with the most fundamental shift. Out of sight means out of your mental field. Remove all blades, scissors, or sharp utility tools from the surface of your desk. Even decorative items shaped like daggers or geometrically severe forms should be reconsidered. You're not just making space, you're making peace. If you still need these tools within reach, place them in a wooden drawer or a soft-lined box with a lid. In Feng Shui, wood energy tempers metal, grounding its edge and converting it from sharpness to support. A drawer lined with a fabric mat further softens the energetic residue. Keep only tools of creativity, pens, sketch pads, maybe a small inspirational item, visible. Let your desk reflect the energy you want your mind to feel. Focused, open, unguarded. Introduce an element that creates gentle containment. A smooth stone paperweight, a round ceramic cup for your pens. Even a single plant like a pothos or bamboo shoot can remind your subconscious. Growth happens here, gently, steadily. Lighting also plays a role. Harsh white lights combined with sharp objects create an alert energy that is good for crisis, but terrible for flow. Swap for warmer-toned light or place a soft lamp near your dominant hand. Let your focus be invited, not forced. Finally, check how you feel when you sit down. Do you exhale naturally or hold your breath? Do you feel safe enough to think deeply, or are you unconsciously bracing to defend your space? A well-aligned desk invites drop-in presence, a state where thoughts land, projects unfold, and time feels fluid. If your workspace doesn't feel like a trusted companion, chances are it's been wired more for control than for creativity. And in the long run, that one sharp item, forgotten, dismissed, may have done more than just clutter your desk. It may have been severing the thread between your ideas and your execution, between your intentions and your outcomes. So ask yourself, when you sit at your desk, are you entering a space of clarity or one of quiet confrontation? And what might happen if you let softness take the lead instead of the blade? Sometimes, focus isn't something we force. It's something we allow by removing the energy that keeps cutting through it. 6 scattered around the house, invisible chaos zones. You might not think twice about the scissors on your kitchen shelf, the old box cutter tossed in a drawer, or the utility knife forgotten on the stairs. After all, they're just tools, common, practical, occasionally useful. But Feng Shui doesn't just read objects, it reads patterns. And when sharp items begin to appear in multiple corners of your home without intention, they don't just become clutter. They become a field of fragmented energy, quietly unraveling your home's natural harmony. It's not the blade itself, it's the message it repeats. Something is always open, always uncontained, always on edge. This is a mistake many people make without realizing it. A pair of scissors on the hallway table, left over from cutting tags. A knife tucked in a corner after unboxing a delivery. A rusty blade in the laundry room. You're not being careless, you're just living quickly. But that quickness leaves energetic fingerprints. And in Feng Shui, those fingerprints compound. Because every sharp object radiates cutting qi, the energy of division, separation, and interruption. Left in one place, that energy is localized. But when it's scattered, it sends a message to your space. Nothing here is settled. Let's unpack that further through the lens of energy design. In a well-balanced home, there is a center of gravity, an energetic core where qi pools gently, then flows outward. This core acts like a hearth, quietly warming all corners of the living space. But when sharp objects are left in various locations without containment, they act like energetic knives slashing through that flow. Instead of a soft pulse that grounds the house, you get frayed energetic threads, each pulling in a different direction. There is no center, only disruption. Symbolically, these blades cut more than air. They begin to pierce into your daily rhythm. You may notice that time feels harder to manage. The home feels more exhausting. You start and stop projects but rarely complete them. Conversations drift into tension. Your mind feels split across too many tabs. And financially, this fragmentation manifests as income that comes in but vanishes quickly. You may work harder than ever but feel like you're treading water, energetically leaking in ways you can't quite track. It's not magic, it's a field effect. When the home is filled with unintegrated sharpness, it mimics that sharpness back into your body and mind. You may feel more reactive, more prone to impatience or mental fatigue. Children may become restless, partners may withdraw, and even pets may seem less settled. The home no longer holds, it disperses. Fortunately, the remedy is not complicated, but it must be conscious. Begin with an energy walkthrough. Move through your space slowly, not just to tidy, but to scan for disruption. Ask yourself, where have I allowed sharpness to stay without reason? Where have blades become background noise? Identify every knife, scissor, blade, or pointed metal object not actively in use, and gather them all into one place. This act alone reclaims energetic cohesion. Then store them with care. Use wooden containers or fabric-lined drawers. Wood, in Feng Shui, softens metal and transforms its vibration. Keep sharp tools only in designated areas. Kitchen drawers, toolboxes, or craft kits. Avoid open display. Avoid redundancy. If you have 10 scissors but only use 2, the rest are just static energy. Give them away. Release what's unused. After the physical act comes the energetic reset. Open your windows. Let fresh air sweep through your corners. Use natural elements to clear lingering tension. Citrus peel water, sandalwood smoke, or even a gentle bell sound in each room to break up residue. You're not just cleaning, you're reminding your space of its natural coherence. And then add back softness. Where a blade once sat, place something that grounds. A bowl of smooth stones, a small plant, a piece of fabric with earthy texture. Objects matter less than the field they emit. The goal is not to decorate, it's to reestablish flow. You may be surprised how quickly the atmosphere changes. The home will begin to hold energy again. You'll feel more rooted, less scattered. Tasks will feel smoother. Conflicts may soften. And most of all, you'll begin to sense a quiet center returning, not just to your house, but to your mind. Because here's the truth few realize, chaos doesn't always come from outside. Sometimes it enters through a drawer we forgot to close, a tool we didn't put away, a moment we didn't finish. And when those fragments multiply, so does the feeling of imbalance. So now, pause and ask yourself, what message is your home silently repeating? One of cohesion or one of constant disruption? If the sharp edges are speaking louder than your peace, perhaps it's time to silence them, not by force but by intention. After all, your home was never meant to feel like a battlefield. It was meant to feel like your center, and it still can, if you choose to gather the blades and let the flow return. Section 2. How destructive energy shows up in daily life. We tend to think of energy as something mystical or abstract, something reserved for temples, rituals, or people who burn incense. But in reality, energy is always present. It moves through your space, your body, your relationships. And when sharp objects are left in the wrong places throughout your home, the effects of their destructive energy aren't some distant spiritual concept. They show up in the middle of your everyday life. They become patterns you live with, without even realizing they were created by the very things you forgot to put away. Here's what this looks like. You've had a long day. You step into your home expecting to feel relief, but something's off. Not terrible, just off. You feel slightly tense. The room feels cluttered, but you can't pinpoint why. Maybe you glance at the dining table and see the scissors from earlier. You walk into the bedroom and notice that knife you forgot to put back after opening a package. You tell yourself you'll deal with it later. And yet something inside you doesn't settle. This isn't coincidence. In Feng Shui, every object in your home radiates a certain frequency, what we call form energy. Sharp tools like knives, scissors, cutters, and even certain decor with blade-like shapes project the energy of separation and fragmentation. According to the 5 elements theory, these tools fall under metal, an element known for clarity, decisiveness, and structure when balanced. But when metal becomes excessive or misplaced, it turns cutting, both literally and symbolically. It slashes through flow. It dominates space. It interrupts connection. And when that kind of energy is left scattered or exposed, it doesn't just affect your home. It starts to rewrite the emotional rhythm of your life. Let's break it down by symptom, because this isn't just about belief, it's about experience. Mental fog and overthinking. You try to sit down and focus, but thoughts keep slipping. You forget small things. You feel drained by simple decisions. These are signs of disrupted metal-water balance, where the metal energy of sharp tools interferes with water's domain of flow, intuition, and emotional clarity. Emotional tension and arguments. Conversations turn defensive without clear cause. You or your partner feel more irritable. Children become more reactive. This is classic qi disturbance, often rooted in sharp objects left in social or private zones. The body perceives them even unconsciously and triggers low-grade tension, because biologically, sharpness is read as a threat. Sleep problems and restlessness. You lie down but can't truly rest. Dreams are chaotic, or you wake up feeling heavy. If there are blades under the bed, scissors in nearby drawers, or even knife sets displayed in view of your room, these can subtly interfere with the yin state needed for regenerative sleep. Feng Shui treats the bedroom like a healing chamber, and sharp tools are the opposite of healing. Financial lax and decision fatigue. Money comes in but doesn't stay. You spend impulsively or forget bills. These may seem like personal discipline issues, but often they stem from living in an environment that fragments your mental clarity. A home filled with exposed, cutting energy mimics that vibration. Money cuts in, then cuts out. Spiritual disconnection. You used to feel clear, grateful, maybe even spiritually supported. But lately, it feels like static, like you're talking to a wall. When sharp tools linger near your altar or meditation space, they cut the signal. Not dramatically, but enough to weaken your inner anchor. The space feels hollow. You feel ungrounded. So what do? First, don't panic. Energy doesn't punish, it reflects. That means your space isn't broken, just waiting to be repatterned. Start with a practice I call the field inventory. Walk through your home with new eyes. This isn't cleaning, it's noticing. Where have you allowed sharpness to remain visible? Where do blades linger out of habit? Don't just look on shelves. Look under beds, inside drawers, on top of cabinets, behind doors. Gather these items, not to throw away, but to relocate with intention. Next, implement the containment principle. Every sharp object must have a home. A wooden drawer lined with cloth. A lidded box stored in a closed cabinet. Why wood? Because in the 5-element cycle, wood controls metal, softening its harshness. This isn't just metaphor, it's an energetic stabilizer. Containment calms vibration. Then, choose one area in your home to restore harmony through symbolic reversal. For example, if your dining table often carries knives or scissors, place a soft element there instead. A round bowl with fruit, a vase with fresh flowers, or a candle in a glass holder. Let the space remember its purpose. Nourishment, togetherness, warmth. By replacing what cuts with what connects, you're not just managing objects, you're rewiring energy memory. And finally, ask yourself the question most people never do. How much sharpness have I normalized in my life? Not just in objects, but in tone, in self-talk, in speed, in how you enter a room or how you respond when someone interrupts you. The external reflects the internal. And sometimes, putting away one knife helps you soften 100 inner moments. So here's the image I'll leave you with. Imagine your home as a single field of energy, like a shallow pool of water spread across every room. And then imagine what happens to that surface every time a blade is left exposed. Not one big cut, but ripple after ripple, again and again, until the water no longer reflects light, until you forget it ever could. And now imagine what happens when you let it go still again, when you clear the sharpness, when you let the energy pool gently into calm. Maybe that's where clarity begins, not in the doing, but in the undoing, the uncut, the quietly whole. Section 3. Feng Shui rules to handle sharp tools mindfully. It may sound surprising, but not all blades are bad in Feng Shui. In fact, sharp tools, when used mindfully, represent discernment, clarity, and the ability to cut through confusion. The real issue begins not when we use a knife or a pair of scissors, but when we leave them behind without presence. When sharpness becomes unattended, uncontained, and emotionally invisible, it starts to radiate energy that no longer serves precision. It begins to disrupt. You might recognize the pattern. You chop vegetables, finish dinner, and leave the knife on the counter while you tend to something else. Or you finish a craft project, leave the scissors in a tray, and forget about them until the next morning. These aren't mistakes of carelessness. They're habits formed in speed. But in the energetic language of the home, every habit leaves a trace. And when the object involved holds cutting energy, that trace becomes sharp, tense, and emotionally activating. Feng Shui doesn't simply say, don't use blades. It says, use them with consciousness, understand their symbolism, understand their cycle. In the 5-element system, most sharp tools fall under metal energy. Metal, when clean and properly stored, supports clarity, boundaries, and structure. But when left exposed, it turns excessive, cutting through the nurturing wood, drying out the emotional water, and dominating the balance needed for fire to rise and earth to ground. Put simply, unbalanced metal cuts through everything it touches, including your peace, your focus, and your ability to rest. Here are the core principles to transform how your space interacts with sharp tools, not through fear, but through alignment. Rule 1, never display knives or scissors openly, even if they look aesthetic. Sharp tools are not decor. Hanging them on walls or displaying them in glass cabinets, especially in living rooms, bedrooms, or transitional spaces, sends out a constant signal of separation. You may feel visually fine with it, but your subconscious picks up the readiness to cut. This creates low-grade alertness and distances the room from emotional safety. Instead, store these tools behind closed doors or in opaque containers. Containment isn't about hiding, it's about calming the field. Rule 2. Always clean, dry, and put away after use. A wet blade left on a counter or sink doesn't just hold bacteria. It symbolizes unfinished energy. It says, something is unresolved here. From an elemental view, water combined with exposed metal leads to intensified yin, a coldness that can slowly affect the mood of your kitchen or utility space. Take one extra minute, dry thoroughly, and store in a drawer or designated box. That act resets the space. It closes the energy loop. Rule 3. Never pass knives or scissors directly from hand to hand. In both ancient Feng Shui practice and broader energetic traditions, sharp tools are considered energy carriers. When passed hand to hand, they transfer not only physical control, but emotional residue. If someone is stressed, angry, or anxious, that emotional frequency can travel through the object. Instead, always place the blade on a surface and let the other person pick it up. This tiny action preserves energetic boundaries and reduces interpersonal tension, especially in kitchens and workspaces. Rule 4. Discard damaged, rusty, or broken blades. Objects hold memory. A rusted knife or a broken pair of scissors may seem harmless if no longer in use, but energetically, they act like containers for unresolved emotion. Perhaps that tool was used in a rush, during a stressful time, or during a disagreement. Those moments imprint. When these objects remain in the home, they continue to anchor the past into the present. Either cleanse them with intention, using incense or salt water, or release them entirely. If it no longer functions clearly, it no longer belongs. Rule 5. Store blades in wood-based or cloth-lined drawers, not metal containers. The material you store with matters. Metal amplifies metal, meaning a knife in a steel drawer echoes its sharpness. But wood controls metal in the 5-element cycle, softening its expression. A wooden drawer lined with a cotton or linen mat will absorb and buffer the cutting chi, allowing the object to rest when not in use. This promotes stillness, it supports safety, and energetically it tells your home, we contain what we use, we don't let it spill into the space. Together, these aren't just rules, they're rituals of awareness. They're small acts of energetic respect that remind the home it is not a place of combat, but of clarity. Not a place of tension, but of discernment. So now, pause and look around your own space. Is there a knife sitting somewhere without intention? A pair of scissors on your desk, waiting to cut through more than just paper? And more importantly, is there a part of you that has grown used to being surrounded by that edge? Because Feng Shui isn't about superstition, it's about feeling. And what you allow to remain sharp in your space, you allow to remain sharp in your life. Maybe the shift isn't to eliminate the tool, but to honor it, use it with care, and let it rest when its work is done. What if every blade in your home carried not the energy of separation, but the energy of precision? Because you chose to hold it that way. That choice is yours, and so is the field it creates. This wasn't just a conversation about knives, scissors, or sharp objects. It was a quiet journey into the edges we've allowed to remain. Edges in our homes, our habits, and perhaps even in the way we protect ourselves from what's meant to flow gently into our lives. Because every object we live with is more than function, it's a mirror. And every blade left visible, every cutting tool forgotten in a drawer or resting near something sacred is more than a tool. It's a message, one that says, Here we are always bracing. Here we are always prepared to cut rather than to soften. When we began, this might have seemed like Feng Shui advice, practical, precise. But now, perhaps you felt it reach deeper. This was never about where your scissors are. It was about whether you've noticed how scattered your attention has become, how unrested your sleep feels, how often you speak to loved ones with a sharpness that wasn't meant, and how easily we forget that peace is not built with protection, but with presence. The sharp tools we keep around us out of convenience may be quietly shaping the rhythm of our days, not because they intend to harm, but because they've been left out of alignment for too long. So maybe tonight, instead of rushing into another task, you pause, walk through your home, not to fix, but to feel. What is your space trying to say? What has been sharp too long, physically or emotionally, and is now ready to be softened, stored, released? This isn't about control. It's about returning your home to a field of wholeness, a place where energy isn't braced but welcomed, where stillness isn't rare but remembered. And so I leave you with this. If your space could speak in silence, would it whisper safety or tension? Would it reflect openness or separation? The answer may not come in words, but you'll feel it in the way the air moves, in the way your chest rises, in the way your own presence finally has room to settle.